Welcome to Travel Secrets with me, Tanya Rose, the podcast sharing wisdom for fellow travellers. Each week, I ask my guests to reveal their 6 travel secrets and the holidays and adventures that surround them. I would just like to say thank you to Mason Rose, the sales and communication agency that represents some of the finest hotels around the world, for partnering with Travel Secrets, the podcast. Today is our very first live podcast broadcast. So exciting. And we're broadcasting from Extreme Hangout to celebrate World Climate Action Week. And my guest today is my lovely friend, Amber Nuttall. Amber is an environmentalist, ex-chef, adventurer, comms expert, founder of Extreme Hangout, co-chair of the Bahamas Reef Education Foundation. She has travelled far and wide, and I cannot wait to hear her travel secrets, as well as her bugbears about what she hates in travel. Welcome, lovely Amber.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a delight, and also one of those moments where I don't normally speak on my stage, but you have got me here because if there is one thing in the world I love, it is travel.
Well, I'm absolutely delighted. And although we know each other well, I don't really know your travel tales. So before we get into your travel secrets, perhaps you can tell us a bit about yourself, how travel has impacted the person that you've become and how you have got to where you are today.
Well, I mean, it literally started from day dot, almost. I found in a box of stuff after my mother died, she was a great hoarder, a little British Airways certificate booklet that looked rather ancient, and opened it up, and it said 29th of January 1977, London Heathrow to Nairobi, and was sort of signed by a pilot, and my name was at the top of this little certificate.
And how old were you then?
I was born on the 12th of January, so I was 2.5 weeks old.
Oh,
and my first trip was to Nairobi.
Wow. Your mother was very brave.
Well, I grew up with 2 completely bonkers, utterly wonderful parents who believed that anything was possible, including travelling the world with their children in tow. I hear far too often, to my way of thinking, that I can't have children because I want to travel, or I might have 1 child or 2 maximum, but you could never travel with children otherwise. And I sit there and go, that was not my lived experience. My lived experience was parents, a bazillion suitcases, and off we all went together. And I love it. And still to this day, I love nothing more than traveling with my mad horde family. And we all have the best giggles together. It always makes me think of ski lifts, because after Nairobi, we then dotted around rather madly for quite a number of years. But my parents rather extravagantly settled between the Bahamas and Switzerland. And to go to my ski lift point, it's one of my happiest places on God's earth, is being on a ski lift with my siblings.
How lovely.
Because we just laugh, and we all just laugh the whole time. And I can remember the last time we did it, there were 4 of us sitting. I mean, chairlifts have got so wide now, you can fit a bazillion people on them. And we just sat there, and I thought the thing was going to fall off because we were laughing so much. So that's one of my happy places.
Did you grow up in Gstaad?
Yeah.
Yeah, so did I. I think that's where we first met each other.
Yes.
You were at the Rose, weren't you?
I did go to the Rose, yes.
Yeah, and our chalet was literally right opposite Chalet Bambi. So I didn't...
Well, yes, okay, exactly. And ours was just over the other side of the railway, the big railway bridge as you look up out of town. I mean, what a completely beautiful place.
Yeah.
So special, the 7 Valleys, Nuttall. In fact, that was the name of our chalet. It's a place that I don't get to go back to very often now, but I got to know those hills and those mountains, and swimming in the cold lakes, and exploring the waterfalls, and hiking in the summer. And
my favorite time in the Swiss mountains is the summer. So in the wonderful rivers that are so cold that you do, cold water swimming, which everyone does now, we were doing years ago. And I also went to Gordonston, which is where your
My
husband went to
Alistair.
school. So I was shipped off to Gordonston for Outward Bound there. And then in the summer, I was hiking in the mountains. So it was a very lovely way to grow up, actually.
And then for me, it's so easy, that translation to exploring the world in those sorts of ways and getting to know nature and outdoors. And in fact, not seeing yourself as separate for it. That was just my life, and that's the way I've always felt it. So is it not really surprising I do what I do?
Absolutely. So let's get into your travel secrets. What's the number one destination you think everyone should go to once in their lifetime?
So for me, that's a really easy, it's an easy one. It is the Bahamas. And the Bahamas it's so unique. Every country is unique, of course it is. It's not one island. We've got over 750 islands. There are 16 of them that are inhabited, though. And every single one is different. It's rather like wearing the most extraordinary necklace with just a different stone to represent each of those islands. They're utterly unique. If you ever have the chance to have a conversation with an astronaut, I would like you to ask the astronaut what their favorite view of planet Earth is from the International Space Station. Because I've met a few now, and they all say the same thing.
The Bahamas.
Yeah.
Do they? How interesting.
Bahamas, shallow seas. So Christopher Columbus came across those islands, and he was so intoxicated by what he saw. His diaries are apparently completely wonderful. I long to read them. One of the things that he talks about is not being able to sleep at night because of the sounds of turtle shells hitting the wooden hull of the boats as they went through the water, because they were so prolific, so abundant. Now, we cannot possibly begin to imagine that now. I mean, it is the island of shallow seas. So we've got wonderful, extraordinary Atlantic coastline along islands like Eleuthera, 101 miles long, and its widest point, it's a mile wide. So it's a sort of crazy, skinny, long, sort of snake-like island that runs down. And from one side of the coast, the Atlantic, to the Caribbean side, the shallow turquoise, unbelievably clear waters.
You don't even need to dive.
To be believed.
You don't even need to dive. You can just snorkel and see everything, can't you?
Completely.
Really beautiful.
No, it's extraordinary islands, and my greatest joy is once you get off the main islands, they call them the out islands, and it's like being on sort of safari in Africa, because you feel that depth of wilderness and sort of untouched. We have beautiful coral reefs. We've got 30% of the world's seagrass, which is the nurseries for sharks and turtles, and so you can see extraordinary.
Tell us a bit about the foundation that you run. You're a co-chair of.
Yes, I'm co-chair of the Bahamas Reef Environment Educational Foundation, which was started by my dad. He was responsible for creating one of the earliest marine protected areas in the world in the Bahamas, and that led to the creation of this foundation. We have been teaching kids to swim, because you're never going to protect what you don't love. And you're never going to love something unless you know it. And the way, of course, we're all introduced to the sea is by hopping on into it. But so many Bahamian kids don't have that opportunity anymore. With the development, particularly of New Providence, which is Nassau, the capital, I think only about 4% of the beaches are accessible now to local people. Really? So they're all taken over either by major private gated communities or hotels. Yeah. So Bahamians then have to pay in order to be able to access their beach. And so a lot of kids don't know how to swim.
So that's one of the things that you do. So that is
one of the major things we do. But we also do training programs for teachers. We work very closely with the politicians and the legislators in the Bahamas. And we also do workshops with the Bahamian Defence Force as well. Oh, wow. Because if you're stopping a boat, and it might be a drug seizure, but they may also have been illegally shark fishing or catching the Nassau grouper out of season or crawfish or something like that. So
I know that one of the things that's the bane of your life are the cruise ships coming in, aren't they?
yeah, I don't love cruise ships. I love the idea of loving cruise ships because I'd love to go to Antarctica. I mean, there are many places that I would like to go to, but I've seen what it's done for or to the Bahamas. And of course, there are some people that benefit from it, but it sure as hell isn't everybody. And when you think of 85% of the tourism who come to the Bahamas come on a cruise ship, and they only generate 15% of the revenue because the cruise ships have so many shops on board and restaurants, and it's all you get your bracelet and that's it. You never have to pay for anything at all. And so then they come into town, and nobody spends any money.
Interesting.
And the Bay Street, our beautiful main street in Nassau, is dead. It's boarded up. There's nothing left there.
Shame.
We have to change that. So challenge and opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In everything we do.
Always.
What is your most unexpected travel experience? Or place?
Do you know what makes most people laugh is I travel everywhere with my passport because I'm always waiting for that moment that somebody goes, we got to go. Like, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Alice is like, you're going to lose it. And I'm like, I still haven't. And it is literally in my bag. I have it here with me. So I'm always ready for an unexpected travel experience. I think probably it was certainly very unexpected for my parents. At the age of 19, I'd left school. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I wasn't terribly good at school. And I think after sort of sitting around at home for a bit, my mother's like, well, maybe what about you actually just go and travel? And I'm like, genius idea. And I just finished a Wilbur Smith book. And it was called Elephant Song. And of course, Elephant Song is set in Zimbabwe. And I potted into my mother's room the next morning and I said, it's cool, Mama, I'm off on Tuesday and I've got my ticket. Great, she said, darling, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Zimbabwe. My mother was like, what?
Oh my goodness.
You cannot possibly go there. And so she had an absolute hernia over it. But my stepfather very sweetly leapt in and said, ooh, there's this man I know in Zimbabwe. I think he's quite cool. His name's Patrick Mavros.
Oh, wow.
Don't worry, Miranda. We'll see if Patrick can sort of be prepared for your daughter descending on Zimbabwe. And I remember so well, whenever you fly south to the African continent, wherever you fly south anywhere, if you're on an overnight flight, always ask for the window seat on the left-hand side of the aircraft. Because when the sun comes up, you get dawn, and dawn over the African continent is more beautiful, and I don't know why, it is more beautiful than anything else in the world. And I just remember seeing that dawn, and the British Airways flight, when British Airways was still flying into Harare, touched down, and the doors open, and that heat comes in. But it was the heat, it was also the smell as well. And I literally felt like my bones had gone home. And I have a deep, deep love of Southern Africa in particular. I love all the places I've been to in Africa, but Southern Africa in particular. And it kick-started in Zim. And the Mavroses sweetly had me to stay for a while. And then Patrick's like, Amber, you got to go on a canoe safari. So I was like, cool, Patrick, that sounds great. Luckily, I didn't have a cell phone in those days, because if I told my mother I was going on a canoe safari, the whole trip would have been called off. The SAS would have been sent in. Everything would have gone wrong. So I went up to Mana Pools on the Zambezi, and I paddled in a little canoe from Mana Pools to Kanyemba over the course of a week. And they stopped this particular safari
because it was too dangerous,
because too many tourists got eaten
by crocodiles
and hippos,
because they roll the boats, don't they?
Oh, you mean there was a canoe. I've got a photograph of it in my photo album, and you can see where the hippo has done that in the middle of it. and completely shattered this canoe. Those people apparently were fine. But no, I had a run-in with a hippo. I had a run-in with, my canoe nearly got flipped by a crocodile. I just remember the guide screaming at me, "Don't get out." And I'm like, "I'm not getting out." There was no way I was getting out. I was staying in that canoe because I was not getting into the water of the crocodile. Of course I wasn't going to get out. Oh my God, it was mad. It was the first time I ever drank whiskey in my life. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. So we got out a little bit further down and I was shaking so much. I thought it was that over theatrical type of shake. I was literally shaking that much. Anyway, he gave me a large glass of scotch. I was very grateful for it.
Well, that's certainly an unexpected tale. That's certainly unexpected. How extraordinary. What's your most overrated or underrated? You can say underrated or overrated, whichever you prefer.
Underrated. British coastline. So after lockdown, that sort of summer in the middle of lockdown, actually, we all obviously had cabin fever. And Alistair and I live not very far from the Solent. And we're like, maybe we could charter a sailing boat. And we did, and we could actually find one quite easily at that point. And neither of us had a huge amount of experience on sailing boats. But anyway, we did manage to take this sailing boat out, and we became quite competent through necessity more than anything else. But I rather fell in love with the Solent, and the Beaulieu River, and Chichester Harbour, and Poole Harbour, and you're just like, whoa. Oh my goodness, I've spent so much time trying to leave the UK and travel to exotic places. But my God, our coast is so glorious. And then in fact, the following summer, we chartered another boat and we sailed the whole way down to the Scilly Isles. And we took 2 weeks. And so we popped into sort of Durdle Door and Lulworth Cove, and we went to Salcombe and the Foul Estuary and St. Mawes and dolphins. I cannot tell you how many pods of dolphins that we saw. And my little dogs, who are asleep at our feet right now, they love dolphins.
Oh, how sweet.
And they would run to the edge of the boat, and the dolphins would be jumping and the dogs would be barking. It was absolutely magical.
How lovely.
That was a really glorious trip. And the sea down in the Scillies, we went swimming with seals, and you just, boy, do you have to put on a wetsuit. Yowzers, it is chilly, freezing. That water. And I quite like a cold water swim, but that is quite nippy. And you can go and swim in these sort of kelp forests, and these little seals are kind of peering at your mask.
Amazing.
And my husband has the lungs of a blue whale. Mine are not as impressive as that. I think I'm a sort of more whale calf-like capacity. But it's very special spending time underwater with these extraordinary creatures.
Well, he must be used to it from Gordonston, because we used to have to jump into the North Sea every year when we went on our cruise. And I have never felt cold like it. It was like a cartoon. You jumped into the water and you were already up the ladder. And I remember one South American boy was really showing off, and he went to the top and he dived in. And by the time he actually swam back, he had hypothermia, and we were all laughing that we were so mean, but it was so funny.
Well, you do get used to it. I mean, I'm just recently back from the Bahamas, and you sort of have to reacclimatize yourself to cold water. My shower at home is only set on cold.
Is it?
I learned this through COVID, because I really struggled. I lost my mother 2 days before COVID started. My old nanny, gorgeous nan, she died 2 months before my mother. So when COVID kicked in, I was really a bit miserable. And then you're locked away from your family. And it's like, and after a bit, I read Wim Hof's book.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, I love book
reading.
That's fantastic. Another reason to travel, is because you get to read more books when you go away from home. So I read Wim Hof's book, and I was like, right, that's it. Al, we're going swimming. And he was like, oh God, I did this at Gordonston. Do I have to do this cold water swimming? But of course you always have to swim with somebody else when you're doing cold water swimming. And it clears my mind. It was my lunch break, and it just became my mental break as well. Straight into the cold water. and it just resets you completely.
Do you wash your hair in cold water as well?
I can't get the soap out.
No, I did that.
Use hot water
I did
for
that
my
for
hair.
5 years at school. And honestly, when I go to the hairdresser now, and they say, "Do you want a cold rinse?" I say, "No, thank you. I've done that 5 years of my life. I don't need to do that again."
Oh no, you see, I'll have the cold rinse, but you can't get the soap out of this wig without.
Let's go on to
hot
food
water.
and drink. Food and drink is
Love
so
food and drink.
important in travel.
Yeah.
It's important in our lives. What do you like eating? Where do you eat? What do you not like eating? Let's just talk about food and drink.
So I'm mostly vegetarian. I did go vegan for a while, all because of planetary issues. And then the more I learnt about farming methods and regenerative agriculture and started to understand the roles of animals on the land, I was like, okay. So that I've allowed myself back to 99% vegetarian. Very occasionally I do eat a little bit of meat. I don't eat fish at all because I do so much work in marine conservation, and it's just easier unless I've actually caught it myself. And I'm not really that inclined to do that. So I just genuinely don't eat it. But Mediterranean coastline. My mother lived in the south of France the last 12 years of her life, and we'd often visited there before. Oh my God, those markets, the croissants. I mean, nobody makes croissants like it over here. I'm sorry, but they don't. And then Italy. And my older sister Tamara married a gorgeous Italian, and I have a divine Italian nephew. And I would go and stay with them in their country house over towards the Adriatic side, sort of parallel with Rome. And I remember Lorenzo coming to me one day with a peach that he'd just taken from the tree in the garden.
Oh, but it was
and
delicious.
You know what? I don't know. My sort of memory, my teeth memory, my dental memory of a peach really is you bite into it and it's something cold.
And hard.
And I bit into this peach and it was warm and the flavor was, I mean, literally stunning. I almost didn't know what to do with it.
Amazing.
And I remember sort of walking around the garden, like sort of cherishing this extraordinary piece of fruit.
How delicious.
And as you said, I was a chef. I absolutely love food, in case you can't tell just by how expressive I'm being about it. But when you get just those ingredients, tomatoes in that part of the world too, they just taste completely different. And they might look a bit sort of green and maybe not perfectly red. Who gives a monkeys?
But they taste
Doesn't
exquisite.
matter. They taste unbelievable.
Are you still a chef? Do you still cook?
I do cook a lot. And yeah, I mean, my poor stepchildren, I was always like, no, I won't buy you biscuits in the supermarket. If you want them, we got to cook them. And then in fact, I think the kids will tell you it's their best holiday we've ever went on. So we chartered a catamaran in Sicily and we sailed to the Aeolian Islands.
Yeah, beautiful.
And we spent a week cruising around there. And when I told them on the plane, I'm like, we're going somewhere and you're going to see a live volcano. And the kids were like, yeah, sure you are. And that was one of my favorite moments. They're literally sitting there with their eyes out on stalks.
With Etna.
Stromboli. Stromboli. Such a great word. The Italians make the best words. And at night, as it gets dark, because during the day, you can sort of see a bit of smoke, but it's at night that you get the red, because you don't see the red during the day. And it's spectacular. Amazing. So the kids were kind of like, wow, this is amazing. And actually there's a food link to that one too, because some lovely local fishermen there. And this guy was just out of a sort of Italian kind of picture book, quite large, rather hairy, big beard. I mean, he looked like a sort of proper fisherman. And he'd be there sort of shouting in Italian and gesticulating the way all Italians do. And he'd have wonderful fish on the dock in the morning when we'd sort of pop into Panarea to go and collect supplies or whatever. And he had these great squid there the first day. And the kids were like, ugh, great. And I was like, I am not allowing you to think that of a squid. Not possible. So it's like, right, have some of those. The kid's like, oh, gross, I'm not going to touch it, don't want to eat it. Took them back to the boat. And I was like, right, everybody. And it was another family, wonderful Poulains, they were with us there as well. I was like, right, in your swimsuits, so we can clean you off afterwards, but I'm going to teach you how to clean a squid. And we're going to make calamari fritti. And they're like, but we love calamari fritti. And I'm like, I know
this is what it comes from.
This is what it is. So I taught them that on like our first day there. Well, that was it. We ate calamari fritti solidly for the entire holiday because we kept having to go back and see this wonderful, crazy Italian and buy squid from him.
That's amazing. How wonderful.
So they're very good squid cleaners now.
And very well educated on the food front as well, and making their own biscuits. Fantastic. What is your top travel tip? And it can be your bugbear.
Well, I think there's sitting by the aeroplane window. And actually, for me, that doesn't matter where you're going and what time of year it is, or even if it's a night flight. I have seen some beautiful nights flying. I'm always rather jealous of the pilots, actually.
Yeah, they have the best view.
I mean, I hope they're looking at the dials as well, but I reckon they also get some pretty darn good stargazing in there, too. Actually, yes, funny enough, I think one of my top tips for travel is to go and sit outside at night. And if that involves lots of blankets, so be it. But the world comes to light in a completely different way at night. I have a very, very special place that I visit in Sri Lanka. I say I visit like I go there the whole time. I've been there 3 times. It's called Zen Wellness. And there's very extraordinary and dear people who run it. Sam and his brother. And Sam's my osteopath here in London, and him and his brother opened this place in Sri Lanka. It's where they're from. And it is on a wild beach. And there are turtles who come and nest at night. And if you're lucky, you see the hatchlings as well. And one of my favorite things to do is to go and walk on the beach as just after sunset, and the bats come out. And I remember seeing something flying down the beach and thinking, oh, there's a heron, it's going to bed late. And I was like, oh my God, that is not a heron, it's a bat.
Was it that big? Wow.
And its wingspan was extraordinary.
Amazing.
And the other thing which I think is completely magical about Sri Lanka is the signs along the motorways for peacocks, because you're like, you've got to be joking. And in fact, they've got peacocks everywhere because, of course, that's where they come from.
Oh. And so it says, beware of the peacocks crossing.
Yes. And then you've got sort of Yala National Park, which you can go to too. But Zen Wellness is, just to go back to that, because I'll always drift off to wildlife ultimately. But it's an Ayurvedic retreat center. They wake you up at dawn and you do yoga, and then you have incredible food and at a sharing table. And then all these wonderful people who give you Ayurvedic treatments, and you can read books and you can walk for miles down beaches. And it is, for me, it was, well, the first time I went, I literally came away feeling like 10-year-old me back on the beach in the Bahamas, my healthiest, happiest version of myself. And Sam and Zen Wellness have given that back to me, that ability to re-find 10-year-old me. How wonderful. Which is the most precious thing in the world. And I think it's so much to do with the people, the culture, the thousands of years old sort of Ayurvedic practices, but it's also the wilderness.
Getting back to nature.
It's a really, really super special place.
And your friend that we were talking to earlier said it had changed his life too. So I'm going to put that on my bucket list, definitely. And I'm going to meet 100%. Sam when he's in London. He sounds like a real healer. Amazing.
He's a very, very special, extraordinary human being.
When we were talking about top travel tips, you were telling me about all your apps. They are very useful. So can you tell us a little bit about the apps that you have on your phone?
Yeah, I mean, I use them at home as well. But I've got one that will tell me about plants. And that one I became fascinated with when I went to Buenos Aires for, actually it was the C40 summit, which is a global mayoral summit. And we were invited to go with our sort of environmental hat on as extreme hangout. And it was being hosted in Buenos Aires. And I don't know who else has been there, but the trees in that city are quite extraordinary. And I've traveled to many different places. And of course, I know there are different trees in every country around the world. But the trees in Buenos Aires are just something else. So I was like, I needed to know what these trees were. So of course, then you can get these apps and you take a picture and it tells you what they are. And I love knowing that. I was walking in the Swiss Alps because I was in the Cloisters Forum last week, and taking pictures of all the different wildflowers along the way before we jumped into our cold water alpine lake. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. And then, which is the other one that I have? Bird song. So I was at the biodiversity COP in Colombia last year. I mean, Colombian bird life. Hello, if you like birds, you gotta go to Colombia. And I just remember waking up at sort of dawn, and I was like, this is ridiculous, and I don't recognize one single one of them.
So you just do that with the app and it tells you?
So you just do that with the app, and it's like all these amazing birds coming off. But I like having that connection with place, and I adore the fact that there are brilliant people far wiser than me who've got these technological abilities, who are helping to bring nature and my understanding of them back into my life.
We'll definitely put that in the chat because it's very useful for people when they're doing trips to then download those.
Yes.
That would be fantastic.
100%.
Let's go on to your most poignant memory.
So that one, I think, is probably, we're back to the Bahamas. When my father died in 2007, and we had a memorial service, where he died here in England, and was buried back at his old family home in Leicestershire. But we had to obviously do something to celebrate him and his work back in the Bahamas. So actually, sadly, that was the last time me and all of my brothers and sisters and everybody were all together back out there. We need to do that again. Well, organising a memorial, obviously quite stressful. And so I can't remember who sort of said, right, I think we ought to give my stepmother a bit of breathing space. Everybody out of the house. So, of course, we all marched off to our favourite beach and went for a walk on this beach. And as we were coming back, there were lots of kids sort of in the water, and they were pointing, and you could see there was something moving in the water. And we were like, crikey, what is that? Anyway, so I jogged on a bit to just go and see what it was that they were getting involved in. And there was a huge manta ray.
Oh, wow.
And manta rays can have a wingspan of sort of, 3 meters, even more. And it was enormous. And they're also ocean-going fish. They do not live in the shallows. So it was very weird to see it there. And one of the kids had a mask on his head because they were all just pointing at it and standing well back from it. So I asked if I could borrow the mask. So I popped the mask on, I stuck my head under the water, and this poor creature was wrapped in fishing line with all these hooks embedded in its body. And so I yelled at my brother. I'm like, we were near a sort of beach bar. So he went up there and he grabbed a knife and he came back down. And you know, when we took hold of this animal, I had no idea what it was going to do. I do know that manta rays don't hurt, they don't have teeth, they don't sting. So I was like, if I get knocked over, I get knocked over, but let's see what we can do for it. Anyway, so we started to cut the fishing line. And do you know what? It just stopped moving completely.
Really?
And it stayed suspended in the water and let us take, and with each hook that was coming out, you were just removing flesh from this poor creature. And we unwound all of this fishing line from this ray, and it then, it could tell when it was free. Oh. And it swam and it did a big circle and came back round and then just headed back out. And because of all the work that my father did in marine conservation, and on the afternoon of his memorial service, I was like, okay.
That's a lovely
I hear
story.
you. I get that. So
that's a really, really lovely
what
story.
I do.
Oh, it's just beautiful. Before I let you go, I asked you to bring a photograph that sums up travel for you. Can you show me the photograph, or just describe the photograph for me and tell me why it sums up travel for you?
I think I showed it to you very briefly before, but there you go. There's Muggins.
Beautiful.
Sitting next to an aeroplane window. And I listen, I'm so spoiled because I have had such great opportunity to travel. But I hope that I'm doing the best that I possibly could with it. I have the soul of a nomad, for sure. And I am so deeply enamored with this crazy little blue marble that we're whizzing through space on. And all of the extraordinary wildlife, but also people and their cultures and their heritage and all the color and vibrancy and our ability to have joy and to celebrate and to, I don't know.
You're doing a marvellous job.
I love all of it. So
that's a lovely photograph.
When I sit next to my plane windows, I always get so excited. I'm the worst going into the Bahamas. I'm like almost sobbing as the plane's coming in. But there's something so cool about you get on your flight from London and it's grey and raining and freezing cold. And 10 hours later, through some genius, you are coming in over those shallow seas with popping turquoise waters and glorious sunshine and pineapples and coconuts and pink sand beaches.
They are pink sands, so fantastic. And what is next for you? Where are you going? Tell us what you're doing with the environment, what you're doing with Extreme Hangout, and where are you going next?
Well, I did pop there at the end of last year because the way that they run the big COP conferences, the big climate conferences each year, is it's on a different continent each time around. So actually, I'm getting to visit a whole bunch of places that I never would have gone to. Azerbaijan last year wasn't necessarily towards the top of my travel list, but wow, extraordinary place. This year, it's in Brazil. In the city of Belém, which is the gateway to the river Amazon. So I popped in there already to go and do a bit of a recce, and I'm really looking forward to spending a bit more time. I'd been to Ecuador previously, and I had a wonderful experience in the Amazon, but that's sort of the headwaters of the river Amazon. So now I'm going to be down in where the Amazon River stretches so wide you cannot see from one bank to another. So that is that's extraordinary, and I can't finish the podcast without just saying I've also been to the Galapagos Islands. But that is for another day.
That's for another day. But before I let you go, are we making a difference?
Yes, we are. And it's storytelling that makes a difference, which is why I'm a huge fan of podcasts, and I'm a huge fan of what these weeks, like a London Climate Week or a New York Climate Week, do. And for people in every world, and we've got it happening at the Extreme Hangout this week. We've farmers speaking on our stage, and health practitioners, and fashionistas, and all different areas of life, travel industry. But we can all lend our voice to the environment and to celebrate the bits that we love. We don't always have to go down the doom and gloom trail the whole time, because we lose our humanity, I think, if we do that. And we need to remind people of what all the joy is about. Actually, we're kind of special. I mean, I don't know anyone else who gets to live on a planet somewhere and be as aware of it as we are.
And celebrate
we could treat it. We could definitely treat it a bit better.
It has been a joy and a delight, as I knew it would be, to go around the world with you, hear your travel secrets. And thank you very much for doing this.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I loved it.
Cool. Enjoy.
Little team. They've been so good.
They've been so good. If my dog had been here, it would have been a disaster.
They come on a lot of my travels with me.